Hey guys! Welcome back to my channel. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe. Today we will be learning about multi-step inequalities. Let's get started. So first, we'll be exploring how to solve inequalities. So when solving inequalities, we do not use the equal sign to set two expressions equal to each other. We use two expressions and we can set them up in four different ways with four different signs. So these are the four signs, and each of these four signs has a different meaning. So the first one up here means less than. The second one over here means greater than. The third one over here means less than or equal to. And the fourth one over here means greater than or equal to. So these are the four signs that we are going to be using throughout algebra. So when we are solving an inequality, it is really a lot like solving a regular equation. So let's say we have this inequality right here, which says 5x minus 2 is greater than x plus 3. So this inequality is going to be relatively easy to solve. It's going to be like solving an equation, except with a different sign in the middle. So to solve an equation, remember, first we have to get all of the variable terms alone and all of the constant terms alone. So I'm going to do the same here, and I'm going to add 2 on this side, and I'm going to add 2 to this side to get the constants on one side. And so 5x minus 2 plus 2 cancel each other out, which leave us with 5x, which is greater than x plus 3 plus 2, which is going to give us x plus 5. Now we want to get the variable term alone, so I'm going to subtract this side by x, subtract the other side also by x, and we're going to get 5x minus x is 4x, which is going to be greater than x minus x, which is just 0, and then the 5 on the side right there. So now we have our last step, which is just getting that x alone. And so to do that, we're going to divide this side by 4, and we're going to divide the other side also by 4. So 4x divided by 4 leaves us with just x, which is greater than 5 over 4, and that can't be simplified, so we're just going to leave it at that. So instead of saying x is equal to 5 over 4, since the sign right now is the greater than sign that you see over here, we're going to say that x is greater than 5 over 4. And that is going to be our answer. Now that we've looked at all of the symbols used in solving inequalities and we've looked at how to solve one, let's move on to the next part. So over here, we're going to learn how to graph an inequality on a number line. So when we're graphing inequalities on a number line, there are two symbols that we use. We use the open circle and the closed circle. And on the number line, these two mean two different things. So when you see an open circle, which means a circle that is not filled in, that means that the sign that was used in the very end was either a less than sign or it was a greater than sign. When you see a closed circle or a circle that is filled in, that means that the sign that they ended up using was either a less than or equal to sign or a greater than or equal to sign. So I'm going to show you guys an example. So let's say the answer to an inequality that we had solved ended up being this one right here. And so this equation says x is less than or equal to negative 3. And so when we graph this on a number line, first let's try to figure out when we graph this if we're going to use an open circle or a closed circle. If you look at the sign that is used right here, that sign is a less than or equal to sign. And up here it says if the sign is less than or equal to, we're going to use a closed circle. So let's say that we have this number line right here where the middle is 0, and then right here we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and on the other side we have negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and negative 4. Now, on this number line, we already decided that we are using this closed circle. And so what this statement is really saying, x is less than or equal to -3, is that any value of x in this inequality will be less than or equal to -3. And so how we're going to do this is we have our circle on -3, and it's going to be a closed circle. And since x is less than or equal to -3, which means all values of x will be less than or equal to -3, we will have this line shaded. We will shade this number line to the left to show that everything that is shaded is part of the solution. So since the -3 is shaded and it's not just an open circle that's not shaded, it shows that -3 is part of the solution, as it says when it says that x is less than or equal to -3. Now that we know how to graph inequalities on a number line, let's move on to solving word problems. Now, when we're solving word problems, there are a few keywords that can let us know what sign we're supposed to use. These keywords are no less than, no more than, at least, at most, more than, and less than. Now, each of these words indicates a sign. No less than indicates the greater than or equal to symbol. No more than indicates the less than or equal to symbol. At least indicates the greater than or equal to symbol. At most indicates the less than or equal to symbol. More than indicates the greater than symbol. And less than indicates the less than symbol. So when we are solving for word problems, just keep these in mind and you'll be able to see which one it really indicates. Let's move on to the next page for some practice problems. So problem 1 says solve the following inequalities. So the first inequality says 33 plus 4x is less than or equal to -x plus 7. So the first thing we're going to want to do is distribute this negative to the x plus 7. And it's not really a negative sitting there, it's actually a -1, which is going to be multiplied by the x plus 7. So we want to distribute that -1 to everything else. So that's what we're going to do. And so we have the 33 plus 4x on this side is going to be less than or equal to, because we have that sign right there. And then -1 times x is equal to -x. And then -1 times 7 is equal to -7. So that gives us -x minus 7. Now we have to get the x variables on one side and the constants on the other side. So the way I'm going to start to do this is first I'm going to subtract 33 from this side and subtract 33 from this side to get all of the constants on the same side. So 33 minus 33 cancels each other out and leaves us with 4x on this side, which is less than or equal to -x minus 7 minus 33, which gives us minus 40. Now we want to get all of the x variable terms on one side, so I'm going to add x over here and I'm going to add x over here. So we're going to get 4x plus x is equal to 5x, which is going to be less than or equal to -x plus x, which cancels each other's out and just leaves us with the -40 on this side. Now our last step is just to divide the sides by 5 to get this x just completely alone. So we're going to divide this by 5, and divide the other side also by 5, and so we're going to end up getting right here 5x divided by 5 gives us just x, which is less than or equal to -40 divided by 5, which gives us -8. So this right here is our answer. Let's move on to the next one. Our next one says 3 is greater than 1 over 3 times -7x plus 2. So for this one, there's actually two ways we could go. Our first direction that we could go in is we take this 1/3 right here, and then we go ahead and we distribute it to the -7x and to the 2. Our second way we could go is that instead of distributing the 1/3 to both of these, we could instead multiply this side by 3 and then multiply the other side by 3. So then when we multiply this by 3, we can just get rid of this fraction down here. So I think we're going to go the way of multiplying both sides by 3, because if we distribute the fraction, we'll just get more fractions and it's just going to be a lot messier. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this side and I'm going to multiply it by 3. And then I'm going to take the other side and multiply it by 3. And so this is going to end up giving us 3 times 3, which is 9, is greater than 1/3 times negative 7x plus 2. And so we're going to multiply that entire side by 3 to just get rid of this 3 underneath the fraction. So that's going to give us 1 times negative 7x plus 2. And since it's just 1, we don't really have to write that. So we're just going to write negative 7x plus 2. Next, we want to get these constant terms to the same side. And to do that, I'm first going to subtract this side by 2, and then subtract the other side also by 2. And remember, when we do something to one side, we have to do the exact same thing to the other side, unless we're just simplifying something. So what we're going to do now is 9 minus 2 gives us 7, which is going to be greater than negative 7x plus 2 minus 2, which cancels out and just leaves us with negative 7x right there. Now our last step is just to get this x alone. So we would have to divide both sides by negative 7. So divide this side by negative 7 and divide the other side by negative 7. And so that's going to give us 7 divided by negative 7 is negative 1. And negative 7x divided by 7 leaves us with just x. You may have noticed I haven't written in the sign yet. This is because whenever we divide by a negative number, the sign always flips around. And so since we divided this inequality by negative 7, which is a negative number, our sign's going to flip around. So instead of being a greater than sign, it's going to turn into a less than sign. So this is going to be our answer. Negative 1 is less than x. Or we could also write this as x is greater than negative 1. So we just flip the entire thing around. So x comes first, so it would be x is greater than negative 1. And so this is going to be our answer. X is greater than negative 1. Now we have our last one over here, and our inequality says 6x minus 9 is greater than or equal to 3 times x minus 12. And so again, there are actually 2 ways we could go with this. We could either distribute the 3 to the x and the negative 12, or we could take this and we could just divide this by 3 and divide the other side by 3, and we could get the answer through that. So the reason that we can divide this side by 3 and usually we can't is because if you look over to the left, everything on the left side is evenly divisible by 3. So it's not going to give us any other fractions. Since we see that we can divide that side by 3 and then just get rid of the 3 on the right side, I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to divide this side by 3. And then I'm also going to divide both of these variables over here by 3. Because remember, we need to divide both of the terms by 3. So this is going to end up and where it's going to give us 6x divided by 3 is 2x. And then minus 9 divided by 3 is minus 3. So the left side is 2x minus 3 is greater than or equal to 3x minus 12 divided by 3. So when we divide this by 3, these 3's cancel each other out and just leave us with x minus 12. Next, we want to get the variable terms on one side and the constant terms on one side. So I'm going to subtract both sides by x to get the x term alone. And so 2x minus x gives us just x, and leaves us with the minus 3 on this side, which is going to be less than or equal to x minus x, which cancel each other out and leave us with the negative 12. So now what we're going to have to do is we add 3 to both sides so we can get the x completely alone and we can say that we've solved for it. So x minus 3 plus 3 cancel each other out is greater than or equal to negative 12 plus 3, which is going to give us negative 9. So our final answer is x is greater than or equal to negative 9. And that's our final answer. Now that we've solved these three inequalities, let's move on to the next problem. Problem 2 says graph the answers to the above inequalities on the number lines. So if you look over here, we have 3 separate number lines, which we have to label and then we have to graph for the answers that we got above. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this first number line right here, and I'm going to graph the solution to the first problem on this one. So the answer to the first one was x is less than or equal to negative 8. So this is what we're going to graph on our number line. So the first thing that we're going to have to do is label this number line. So our solution says that x is less than or equal to negative 8. So that means that the lowest point has to be at least negative 8. So what we're going to do is put 0 in the middle right here, and we're going to put negative 8 around right here. And we're going to put positive 8 right here, just so the number line is even. So I'm just going to label the rest. So we ended up labeling our number line by 2. So we have 0, negative 2, negative 4, negative 6, and negative 8. And on the right side, we have all of the positive. So the next thing we're going to want to figure out is if we are going to use a closed circle or if we're going to use an open circle. So remember what we had said about the signs indicating whether we use a closed or an open circle. So remember that when our signs were just less or just greater, we used an open circle. But when our sign was less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, we used a closed circle. So if we look at this one over here, this one is a less than or equal to sign. It has that equal to part in it. So that means that we're going to be using a closed circle to mark our area. So how we're going to do this is it says x is either less than or equal to negative 8. So all of the values of x in this inequality are either less than negative 8 or equal to negative 8. So we're going to shade in negative 8 to show that it's part of the solution. And then since all of the solutions are also less than negative 8, we're going to shade in everything to the left of negative 8 to show that everything less than negative 8 is also part of the solution. We're going to draw a small arrow there to show that the solution set keeps going on. So this would be how we would graph our first inequality. For our next one, our answer that we had gotten was x is greater than negative 1. So what we're going to do first is we're going to label our number line. And remember, our 0 is going to be in the middle. And I'm going to label the rest of the number line. So here is our number line this time, and I just labeled it by ones. And so what we want to do is first we're going to figure out if we use an open or a closed circle. And so to do that, we're going to look at the sign, and the sign says it's just greater than, not greater than or equal to. So since it's just greater than, we're going to use an open circle. So it says x is greater than negative 1. So our open circle is going to be at negative 1. So I'm going to draw an open circle right here. And it says that x is greater than negative 1. So all values of x that are greater than negative 1 are part of the solution. Since this is the case, I'm just going to shade in everything that's to the right of the negative 1. Which means that it's greater than negative 1. So this graph right here shows that all of the solutions are greater than negative 1. So this is our answer for the second one. Our third one says that x is greater than or equal to negative 9. So I'm going to fill in our number line real quick. And so what we're going to figure out is if we're using an open or a closed circle, and we're going to look at the sign, which is greater than or equal to. Since it has the equal to part in it, we're going to use a closed circle to indicate that -9 is also part of the solution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put our closed circle at -9, and it says that x is greater than or equal to -9, so everything that is greater than -9 is part of our solution. So on this number line, I'm going to shade in everything that is greater than -9. I'm going to draw that arrow there to indicate that it keeps going on. And so this one is our solution for x is greater than -9. So now that we've done this one, let's move on to problem number 3. Problem 3 says solve the following word problems. So we have 2 word problems here, and I'm going to look at the first one. Our first word problem says the cost of 1 gallon of orange juice is $4. How many possible gallons of juice can you buy with $15? So the first thing we're going to want to do is define the variable that we're going to be using. So we're going to define our variable as x, and we're going to say that x is equal to the number of gallons of orange juice that you buy. So with this, what we're going to want to do next is set up an inequality to show the possible solutions to this equation. So it says that 1 gallon of orange juice is $4 and you have $15. So since you only have $15, the amount of money that you spend on orange juice has to be less than or equal to exactly $15. It can't go over $15. And so we have half of our inequality right here. Now we have to find the left side of our inequality. So since the right side is in terms of money, where the left side also has to be in terms of money. And so since each gallon of orange juice is actually $4, we're going to write that 4x is less than or equal to 15. And the 4x just means that each gallon of orange juice costs $4. So this is our inequality that we're going to use to solve this problem. So now to solve this, what we're going to do is we want to get this x alone, right? And so we're going to divide both sides of the inequality by 4. So 4x divided by 4 leave us with just x, which is less than or equal to 15 over 4. So our answer is x is less than or equal to 15 over 4. Or you can buy at most 15 over 4 gallons of orange juice. But it's not possible to buy 15 over 4 gallons of orange juice. You can't buy like half of a full gallon of orange juice or 3/4 of a full gallon of orange juice. So since you can't buy half a gallon of orange juice, and if you go over 15 over 4 gallons of orange juice, you'll be over your $15 limit, what you're going to do is you're going to round down. So to do this, we're just going to say, instead of 15 over 4, we're going to convert it to its decimal form, and we're going to say that 15 over 4 is 3.75. So x is less than or equal to 3.75. And so what we're going to do, we can't buy 4 gallons of orange juice because then that would go over our dollar amount, our $15 that we have. And so instead we're going to round down, and we're going to say that we can buy at most 3 gallons of orange juice. So we're going to say that x is less than or equal to 3. So that's going to tell us that we can buy at most 3 gallons of orange juice. So we're going to write that right here, that you can buy at most 3 gallons of orange juice. And that is going to be our solution to this word problem. Our next one says that a cargo elevator has a maximum weight capacity of 2,000 pounds. If there are 3 boxes with a combined weights of 540 pounds on the elevator, what are the possible number of 150-pound boxes you can fit onto the elevator? So first what we have to do is define our variable. So x is going to be equal to the number of boxes you can fit onto the elevator. So what we're first going to want to do is, it says the capacity of the elevator is 2,000 pounds, but there's already 540 pounds on the elevator. So since the maximum weight on the elevator is 2,000 pounds, we're going to write 2,000 on the right side. Now since the right side is in weight, our left side should also be calculated in weight. So if X is the number of boxes and each box weighs 150 pounds, we're going to write 150X, which shows that the weight of each additional box is 150 pounds. Now we're also going to add 540 to the left side, because as it's stated in the problem, 540 pounds were already onto the elevator. So the 540 pounds plus any other additional 150 pound boxes should be less than or equal to 2,000 pounds. It shouldn't be greater than 2,000 pounds because the maximum capacity weight of the elevator is 2,000 pounds, so it shouldn't be any greater. Now that we've got our inequality, let's go ahead and solve it. So the first thing we're going to do is subtract 540 from both sides to get rid of the 540 right here and get the X term alone. So that's going to leave us with 150X plus 540 minus 540 are just going to cancel each other out. And that's going to be less than or equal to 2,000 minus 540, which is 1,460. Now to just get this X completely alone, we're going to divide this side by 150 and we're going to divide the other side also by 150. And so we're going to get 150X divided by 150 leaves us with just X, which is going to be less than or equal to 1,460 divided by 150. So if you know 1,460 is not evenly divisible by 150, it won't give us a whole number. And so we're just going to write this out in its decimal form. So 1,460 divided by 150 is going to give us about 9.73. So this says that X is less than or equal to 9.73, or you can fit at most 9.73 boxes into the elevator. But remember, you can't have 0.73 of a box. So what we're going to do is we're going to, again, round down. So we're going to round down to the nearest whole number, which in this case would be 9. We don't round up to 10 because if we go 10, we'll go over the weight limit of 2,000. So we're just going to round down and we're just going to leave it as 9. So we're going to say X is less than or equal to 9, or that you can fit at most 9 150-pound boxes onto the elevator. So this right here is going to be our final answer. So that's it for today, guys. I hope everything was pretty clear and you were able to understand. Please like and subscribe to my channel and comment any other topic ideas you have below or any other questions you have on this topic in the comments. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram and on Facebook from the description below. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye!